The ordeal. It is the darkest hour of one's challenge, this ordeal, when things have become most difficult and you need to fight off doubt with resolve. Fairy tales often have readers confront their dark natures, and we saw in the horror and violence themed tales. And this is where characters come into play, this is where character comes into play. Can you, under pressure, stand true to yourself, or will you abandon your truth? Eating away at our confidence are the shadow beliefs that weaken us, robbing the world of our talents and gifts. What kind of ordeals do our heroines then face? Well, what an outrageous decree made by the king that thrust the responsibility for the life and death of siblings onto a child. She is born into her ordeal. In the 12 brothers, the preferential treatment laid out here may spring from the rights of inheritance that will be divided among the 12 brothers. So perhaps in the woods, only Benjamin stays home, aligned with the feminine ideal of the time. He's the compassionate brother who secures the young princess's safety before revealing her presence. And the significance of the number 12 most likely is an allusion to the 12 disciples, often used in medieval epics. The number is associated with strength there. Our heroine emulates the sacrificial nature of a martyr, associating her with her 12 brothers with the passion of Christ. And while she is heroic for her willing sacrifice, she is also demonized because of her gender, like the Pandora's box or Eve's apple. The princess picks lilies that evoke the curse of them into ravens. So to rescue them, she performs a penance, like a monk or a nun who takes a vow of silence to ensure their safety, which leads her to the pyre after being accused of witchcraft. While a vow of silence was intended to deepen the relationship one has with God, here it becomes the test of her character. Will she be able to maintain her truth or abandon it for comfort? As the tale comes to its climactic end, the brothers then arrive, her truth can be revealed, and she returns with her siblings to the kingdom. Well, transformation. Fairy tales can show us how we change, especially after we have persisted with our truth, answering the call, getting help from mentors, facing trials, and overcoming our ordeal. We come out of the other side of this process wiser and stronger in knowing who we are. This change happens when we take responsibility for our lives, and by living honestly, we are making ourselves accountable to others who can keep us motivated and committed to change. In 12 Brothers, we saw the transformation as a curse and the responsibility for their lives carried by the youngest sister, until a second transformation opened the possibility of healing. How does that transformation measure up to the transformational curse in brother and sister? Well, in brother and sister, we see a sister who has taken on the responsibility for her sibling, much like in Hansel and Gretel. As she maintains her discipline, the younger brother quenches his thirst with the river symbolic of transformational change. Each time he drinks, he becomes a little more domesticated, more docile, more tamed, transforms from tiger to wolf to deer. And the brother still struggles with impulse control, still much like an animal. He feels the need to participate in the hunt, even if it puts himself at risk. And while hiding in the woods, we see that while she has made herself responsible for her brother, sister has not become accountable in her responsibility, cutting herself off from society. The ordeal that the sister undergoes is her physical death, a most shocking and striking scene of suffocation and replacement by someone who is not being true to themselves, but impersonating her, this other. The king is kept in the dark about the stolen identity. The sister persists, however, beyond death to care for and suckle her newborn child until she is recognized and the truth is known. So we can often be disheartened by the short-term gains of fraudsters and tricksters and those who build their empires upon lies. But even though that can happen, we should remember that the arc of the moral universe is long and it does bend towards justice. The stories of our lives are meant to be shared, and the knowledge, talents, gifts, skills, and dreams that we pursue are undertaken and developed with others at the end in mind. Fairy tales, for that matter, are meant to be collected and shared. Perhaps the most lasting truth of the heroic journey and of our own stories and truth can be found in the journey's conclusion that connects our endeavors to the lives of others. Through the opportunity of generosity, to giving more than we take, that we can give back to the world. And those elixirs that were so hard won in our ordeal take on a meaning outside of ourselves. So these greatest acts of compassion, well, the greatest act of compassion is to be able to set someone free. And this is not without its cost, as it means, in a way, to risk the bond you have with them as well. As the ring drops into the cup in the Seven Ravens, the ring that was so hard won and for which she sacrificed so much, it drops and her brothers are freed from their curse. A fascinating tale that begins with a botched baptism, meaning that our young protagonist is not converted. We are taken then on this journey to the moon and the stars, a moon that wishes to eat her, a sun that eats children, singular, large, ominous, rule over the sky, and therefore untrustworthy. But then the compassionate multitude of stars, the common, the many like the folk, they give her the drumstick that will open the door to the glass mountain. Now she loses it, and without further explanation, it forces her to sacrifice her own finger to gain access to the mountain and free her brothers. So the heroic journey is there in our fairy tales and sometimes imitated by the trickster, but easily discerned in what is learned by the ordeal that is faced. Our young male heroes of the grim tales exercise compassion, win friends, and therewith secure their futures, while the young heroines are born into responsibility, and their persistence through trials and ordeals and a willingness to sacrifice transforms themselves and makes life better for them and for others.